So the Town of Lakeville Board of Health legal notice. The public hearing will be held by the Lakeville Board of Health at the Lakeville Police Station at 323 Bedford Street on December 7th, 2022 at 6 p.m. for proposed changes to Lakeville Board of Health regulations pertaining to minimum lot sizes and potability parameters for water. The proposed changes to the regulations may be obtained online or from the office of the Board of Health located at 241 Main Street, Lakeville, Mass, during regular business hours. Notices from Christopher Spratt, the chairman, Derek Maxim, co-chair, vice chair, and Robert Palucci, Lakeville Board of Health. Now I'll make a motion to open the hearing for this that pertains to this notice.
So moved.
I think you should also see if anyone else is recording this besides LakeCAM. I see no one. All right, the procedure for the hearing is the speakers.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are you nervous tonight? Come on.
It's my first time with a public hearing. A lot of moving parts here.
Okay.
So the procedure for the hearing would be, any speaker that's gonna speak needs to identify them and recognized by the chair before they can speak. Summary of the regulations to be deleted or revised is.
Did you identify yourself?
Did I identify myself? So I'm supposed to identify myself too?
It just says, must be identified. I mean, it says it in front of you, but.
I have to say it to myself. So the summary is, I'm just gonna read what we're proposing instead of trying to really summarize the whole thing. All right. So the changes to Lakeville Board of Health regulations pertaining to subsurface disposal systems and water below will be voted on by the Lakeville Board of Health at the public hearing on December 7th at 6 p.m. at the Lakeville Police Station. The public is welcome to attend, voice any concerns. Existing regulation 2.0, a lot less than 1/2 acre, rounded down to 20,000 square feet of upland acreage, shall be deemed too small for both a water supply and sewage disposal. The proposed regulation 2.0 would be 1, no dwelling, building, or structure to be served by an on-site source of potable water and individual subsurface sewage disposal system shall hereafter be erected, placed, or converted on any lot having an area of less than 30,000 square feet unless a variance has been granted by the Board of Health. 2, no building, dwelling, or structure to be connected to a public water supply system shall hereafter be erected, placed, or converted on any lot having an area of less than 20,000 square feet unless a variance has been granted by the Board of Health. Then the Lakeville Board of Health potability parameters will add lead to parameters below. Existing regulation, Lakeville Board of Health potability parameters include total coliform bacteria, pH, ammonia nitrogen, nitrate nitrogen, iron hardness, manganese, sodium, chloride, I think this should be sodium, magnesium, copper, arsenic, and volatile organic compounds, hereafter referred to as VOCs. The proposed regulation for Lakeville Board of Health potability parameters include total coliform bacteria, pH, and ammonia nitrogen, nitrate nitrogen, iron, hardness, manganese, sodium, chloride, magnesium, copper, arsenic, lead, and volatile organic compounds. Does anyone have any comments or questions? And now we'll open it to discussion amongst the members. You guys have anything?
Well, one's easy. The water, it doesn't even cost anybody anything, so I think we can all agree that we're gonna add lead. It's not even an extra charge on a water test unless
Yeah,
for
the
some
last
reason you
meeting
don't
we
want
missed,
to.
so we left it open for that discussion for you. I think it was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, and Ed had said most, the two places that normally do it, it's already in their package.
And everyone knows that.
No additional cost and, you know.
And so let's start with an easy one. I'll make a motion that we add lead to our, water portability parameters.
Should we say something about like how the regulation was typed?
Yeah, well, you just read
I
them.
read it in the show.
So we're deleting. Now, there's no number on that, Ed? That's just our potability parameters.
No, it's just.
Yeah, it just says you have to test for it, and then you actually go by the national code, which is .015.
So I think think that motion will work. A second?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Wait a minute, is there any discussion for anybody out there? Go ahead. Aye.
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 All right, now we did the easy one, now let's get to the other one.
Yeah, maybe on the next one, I guess it doesn't matter whether we ask the audience first or,
It's better if we say it and then they can ask questions about what we're talking about.
okay.
So we don't
So it
shut them
says-
off and then say something they didn't know about.
So it says in the motion, if any of the current regulations are to be deleted, the motion would be to delete state the regulation and regulation number. Any of the current regulations are to be revised, the motion should be made to delete the current regulation, state the regulation and number, and replace it with state the regulation with a full regulation number.
Right, so this next one, we'll have to read this. That
Yeah.
one, there was no regulation, it was
Yeah.
just potability.
That's exactly the
parameters.
same, we
So
just added lead.
added
We
lead.
just said.
Yeah, that's all we did.
So this next one,
We're revising.
Yeah.
we need to delete 2.0 if that's,
Okay. You were out with COVID, so we discussed it, but there's still more talking to do, just get your input on it
okay.
before we make any motions or vote, and so let's hear what you think about it first.
Okay, so it was previous, the 2.0, we were at 20,000 square feet, and it did not specify a public water supply. It just said, water supply.
Yeah.
So this one is looking to put it to 30,000, instead of 20. Which is, with 20,000, I believe you can get a two-bedroom on a property that size with a treatment system.
That's why
So
I
you're
thought,
eliminating-
that's why I thought 20 would be all right, probably.
I mean, you shouldn't have a three-bedroom on a 20, I
Yeah.
wouldn't think, but you'd have,
Yeah, if we did minimum 20 and then 10,000 a bedroom after, that would give us a two-bedroom on 20, and then they could have three bedrooms on 30.
and a treatment system would allow them to do that.
And that's why I was waiting for you.
A treatment would, yeah, you could put a three-bedroom on 20 with a treatment, correct.
Is it a whole half? I don't think it's a whole extra bedroom for two. I think 3 gets you 4 on a treatment, but I'm not sure. Maybe an engineer knows that.
4 gets you 5 with the treatment.
Okay. So 3 doesn't get you 2? I didn't think so.
20 gets you 2,
No.
by right.
And there's no chance of ever getting a 3 on a 20.
No.
Well, to meet nitrogen loading, it's,
Treatments, there's new treatments coming out. There are, that
Yeah,
are
they're
pretty
pretty
stellar,
good.
so I
Yeah.
can't say never. I expect that there will be.
But that's why we're leaving on ours, we're proposing anyway to leave that people, we can give a variance. So if something comes out and DEP says, yeah, you can fit 5 bedrooms and 10,000, then we have the ability to, not be so strict and hard with it. But for now, but I mean, if somebody wanted a 2-bedroom, I'd almost be all right with 20,000 for a 2-bedroom and then 10,000 for every additional bedroom.
yeah, I was thinking 20 when we brought this up at the first, just because our old reg was 20, so I don't
Yeah.
know, like to make it, it's just my thought.
So that one wasn't as much concerned about as the first part of it anyway, was just increasing that, so we can avoid, I mean, how many lots are we really worried about with it? I mean. I don't know.
Quite a few, actually.
Is there more than that?
And Ed, did you have a?
I just noticed that on the first one, we specify upland, and on the second, on the proposed, we don't. Do we want to include that?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah,
If you're going back to 20, if you're going back to that reg,
If you're going down to 20, it should, if we're going to 20, it should all be upland. And that's only for a 2-bedroom. I think.
so what's the difference of what we're adding and changing if the 2.0 already says 20,000 square foot of upland acreage shall be
Well, this
deemed too
says water
small?
supply and sewage.
It's just
I think it's
worded
different between well and,
Yeah,
well and
it's
public water.
It's saying that it doesn't matter if you're on, public water, you still need 20, whereas the other one doesn't say that. The original one, it just says that 212 for both a water supply and sewage disposal. So if you just did a sewage disposal and you brought in the water, then it doesn't specify that. This just specifies that it doesn't matter whether it's a well or it's just from the street,
Yeah.
it's 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with it that way, but whatever you guys think.
Yeah, I'm more leaning towards 20. I don't know, I don't know if we need to go to 30 if we already have one at 20.
You're talking about for the second one, right? Yes.
And the second one is still 20 also, so it's kind of all,
Yeah, that was the way Middleborough did it. They broke it up, and Bob was one who recommended we use their reg. So that was the basis, but obviously you guys can do whatever you want.
So you think the first one should be lowered to 20?
I think that's what I'm talking about, yes, the first one, with a septic and a private well. Because that's what we had previously for a regulation, was 20. And now we're saying we're gonna make it 30. Because all we're really changing is the original reg on that, from the top one, am I correct? We already have one that says 20, so we're just making it to 30.
I thought we wanted to increase it.
Well, no, we're changing it from if you have town water or a private water supply and not a well. That's the change of it.
Right, and that's under 2.20.2, because now we're deleting that top one in its entirety. And we're adding 2.0, number 1, and number 2, which is just more confusing, that's why I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, part 2 of the new reg would pretty much encompass parts
I mean,
of the existing, but we're adding in that if you have both on one lot, that you have to have a little bit more area
Right.
because of the proximity of the two.
Now, seeing we're combining them, if we agree to go to 20, I mean, wouldn't it just be easier to keep our existing 2.0 regulation and just add the word public water supply or private water supply? I mean, we're doing the same thing. Or is all this other worded needed to be? I mean, because now we're 20 on both, so why, they were 30 and 15, so the reg we were looking at from Middleborough, that's why they broke it up. But if we're just saying 20, either way, wouldn't we just add the word?
Yeah, I think we took it because it was
Public
kind
water
of
supply?
reviewed. Middleborough reviewed it and everything, so we knew it from a legal perspective,
Yeah,
it
that
was
went to their
good. So
town
by
council and
stealing,
everything,
like,
so,
Right, you said it's been on since the 70s.
yeah, and that's why I just copy stuff.
yeah, because we're not attorneys.
Right, correct.
Right,
So
I think with the
council-
increase was part of that, right? The increase in square footage,
What do you mean?
the 30, going from 20 to 30? We're copying that from them also?
Yes.
Yeah, but if you,
Right out the middle.
but we should just, I think we should just say 20 for a 2-bedroom and 30 for a 3-bedroom, so it's clear.
Oh, okay.
So then if you got 20, you can do a 2-bedroom, just so people understand you can't buy a lot and think you can do a 3-bedroom on it, because we said the minimum lot's 20,000. You know what I mean? I
Okay.
think if we specify 20 is the minimum for a 2-bedroom, and then you need 10,000 more square feet per bedroom on top of that.
Okay, that
Did
makes
you want to include that in the reg, or that's just something you're
I'm
saying?
thinking we should just make it clear to anybody that looks it up. Yeah, we should probably put it in there. I think anyway. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that was the whole point of what
Yeah.
with the nitrogen loading of what we're trying to accomplish.
On-site source of potable water and industrial substance. Erected, placed, and grown on a lot have an area of less than 20,000. All we gotta do is change 20 for a 2-bedroom and 30 for a 3-bedroom. Square feet unless a variance has been granted. No building, dwelling structures connected to a public water supply system, public or private, we should, that's not public, but private makes it sound like it's your own.
It is.
Okay,
A private water supply is a private well.
on your lot, but yeah, but this reg says by a public water supply, but like down there, is that private water company, are they still considered a public water supply?
They are regulated by DEP as a
All
public
right.
water, even though they're a private company.
All right, shall be erected, placed, and converted on any lot having less than 20,000 unless a variance has been granted, so.
And even where we have Taunton water in Lakeville, that is also with
Public was.
public
Yeah, Taunton or
water
Middleborough,
supplies,
yeah. We have
Middleborough,
Middleborough some places too.
or their own is all.
You're not gonna say nothing.
So do we even need to put that 30,000?
I think we just, if we
We
just
just
leave
put
the
it to-
new, I think we only need the 2.0 number one, and then just add where it says 30,000, put 20 for a 2-bedroom, 30 for a 3-bedroom.
But you'd have to add the word public water supply in 2.01.
Yeah,
And you wouldn't even have 2.0, you just have 2.0.
yeah, or public or private, just put
Correct,
public
that's
or
what I mean,
private.
you combine them,
Yeah,
but we definitely have to make this specific on what we're doing.
Well, that's why I think when,
No, we're-
the way it got put this way was because, you know, 1 point, you know, section 1 is for if you have both private water and a sewage disposal system on one lot, and the other one's if you only have sewage and then you have public. Right, I think it was kind of just separating the two. I think that's probably why we ended up writing it this way. And, you know, it wasn't until afterwards we started reading it. I mean, keeping them two separate isn't terrible, because otherwise we're gonna be rewording the entire
Yeah.
Right.
They're like-
post one. We could just add
And
a couple of revisions to it, you know, adding upland into both and then, just the 20,000.
And the bedroom count is kind of covered under nitrogen aggregation for the most part, so I mean, you know, I don't know if we need to specify that, you know, because it's. like
I mean, it won't hurt to throw it in, right?
Yeah.
Let's just keep it clear. Did somebody want to say something? Was there somebody out there talking?
Who runs the Clark Shores Water Department? You think it's under the operation of the public department utilities? They're trying to figure that out right now.
DEP permitted
Department of
that.
Utilities isn't sure if they want any part of Clark Shores water.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they're a private company, but they're regulated.
And
As a
I'm here
public
because I'm a neighbor and they want to put a house on the lot beside me.
Right.
yeah.
And you guys are going to 20,000, and that's awful tiny considering the town is, what, 1.7 acres for a new lot?
But not for a pre-existing
Not for
non-conforming lot.
pre-existing.
But that situation is what brought us to get this, to start talking about it, so it doesn't happen
Right,
again.
yeah.
We're gonna get to that in a minute, to your
I know
specific
you
lot
are.
and issue.
I know
Remember,
you are.
20,000 is only 2 bedrooms.
Yeah, but do you have any idea what the occupancy of those houses are on average? Do you really think there's like a mother and father and a kid in a 2-bedroom? Or do you think maybe there's actually 8 to 9 people in that house?
Yeah, but we can't regulate how many people
I know
live in
you
the
can't.
house. So,
I agree. We are, or I am somewhat aware that, you know, the loading there is well above.
I mean, Clark Shores.
The bedroom
is
loading.
a unique neighborhood, for sure, right?
oh yeah, there's a report from the state done in the 70s about the nitrogen loading down there, so. And that's why when the lot next to you came up, I wanted to get this on. Yours, we still gotta discuss later, but this is just go forward to make sure it doesn't happen again. So
Right,
I
I
saw
understand
something
that.
wrong and I wanna nip it in the butt, but then we gotta go back to yours.
That should be like 30,000 for a 2-bedroom.
Yeah,
And that way you have a little buffer. But, you know, who am I?
yeah. Well, Title V says 10,000 square feet a bedroom.
Okay,
So that's why
there you go, I'm straightening you right up.
we have to stick to some of their stuff,
I
you know?
understand.
We can make
But-
stuff, we can make some other changes, but
To
we
your
gotta
point,
stick to a lot of
Title
this.
V goes by 2 people per bedroom. So when they say, you know, 20,000 square feet, they're assuming less than 4 people. You know, whereas
I understand.
in your thing, and you know, you made a very good point, as in, because you have more than 2 people per bedroom in that neighborhood, you're asking for a larger area, which makes perfect sense, and like I said, so I think that was the point.
And just realize, that's how serious we took you guys. We having a public hearing and we're gonna change it to, hopefully I'm gonna vote to change it. It's up to everybody, but to address that moving forward. So we took you very seriously when you came. And yours, we still have to talk separate because it came in before we're gonna do this. But right now, what we're talking about is to try to make sure we don't get a ton of them coming in the next couple of months.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks for straightening that out.
no problem.
And again, that 20,000 was from DEP and Title V for nitrogen loading.
No, I understand.
It's,
Okay.
Does anyone else have any comment about the change in regulations, pertaining to the change in regulations?
DEP says 20,000. We could make it stricter, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But not just for your neighborhood though, then we'd have to do the whole town.
Right.
We can't spot zone different areas, so.
But we could do the whole town. We could say 30,000 for the whole town.
Correct.
You guys said that's what Middleborough went with?
Correct.
Is that what you guys were discussing?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So you can, there's,
See, there's a report, and actually, I'll have Ed see if he can put it online. DEP, when they were 4 letters, whatever they were back then, D something something. DEQE, they did a report specifically on Clark Shores about the seasonal communities and what was happening, because when those were allowed back in the day. And, they talked specifically about the nitrogen loading down there, so, technically, some people are telling me that DEP should have mapped that as a nitrogen-sensitive area, which would have gave us more teeth on that specific. If that was mapped from DEP and said this is, which we all know it is, because in that report it says how many bedrooms and stuff are in such a small area. But they, and however when we get to that one, I don't want to jump the gun, but just because they didn't map it, I still believe their report, and I think they should map it. And I think, I'm trying not to mix the two things, but, you know, I think that they should put it on a map anyway, just so we could then say that's a nitrogen sensitive area. But, you know, I get a report from all those years ago, so I'm gonna kind of hang my hat on that when I get that far. But, you know, and if somebody wants to go to DEP and say, well, you didn't put it on a map, so, you know, if they overturn it, they can overturn us, we can't overturn them, so, but, again, you guys came in and, brought that to our attention, and, you know, I don't think it's been a month and we got it right on the public hearing and advertised it and everything, because we wanna address it.
so we're back to.
All right, so we're back to the wording.
The wording, and
We
now are we
good?
gonna stay with 20? Is everybody, I'm still at 20 because it's allowed by DEP.
20 for 2 and 30 for.
I mean, like you said, we can go to 30 like Middleborough did if you two feel
Oh,
you wanna go to 30.
I mean, I almost, because this is gonna end up at DEP after the next one is, if I'm a betting person, again, I don't know how you guys are gonna vote, but I know how I'm voting. So if that goes to DEP and DEP maps that, we can amend this and then change it to nitrogen sensitive areas. So now I'm thinking, if we call it 30 now, and then we restrict it to 20,000 if they deem it, when they end up making the call to a nitrogen sensitive area, then that lets us, through them, kind of spot zone it and change it for just certain areas.
Can I add something?
Sure.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't go to DEP, it goes to court.
Okay,
DEP, when it comes to septic approvals and waivers, the appeal process goes to court.
okay.
So I'm correct with that, right?
Right, but from like a nitrogen aggregation plan will go to us and then to DEP. I don't know if that's
It
what.
doesn't even go to DEP anymore. The aggregation plans, they're local now. But say that you were to, the next process isn't to DEP on an appeal, like conservation, it goes to, I think, Superior Court.
Okay.
That's correct.
It used to go to DEP, right?
That was for certain approvals on certain things, they would have presumptive, they've given up that privilege, you guys have it now.
They keep dumping everything back on the towns.
But to your point, you say you can put 30 and then you have you always have the option of granting a variance. So you could still do 20 if you keep it the way it is now by just saying 30. And then whatever, like the exception comes where there's nothing, sensitive in the area, then they say, okay, we're granting a variance. So that you can still do the 20 and cover that without actually changing the reg, because like I said, that's what the variance is for.
But again, on this part, Bob, and Ed, we're talking about the 31 was for a private well and a septic, which we're not even really talking about in Clark Shores. We're talking about the public water supply, and that we have at 20. So I was going the other way. I wanted to put the 30 down to 20, and you're saying put the 20 up to 30. You see what I mean? Because right now, I'm talking about two
Well,
different
I thought
items.
DEP appealed it and they were gonna have to, I thought after we did this, DEP would have to make a finding on it and then call that a public water, I call it a sensitive area. Because that report calls it a sensitive area, but then it's been brought to my attention that it says somewhere in the reg that it has to be a mapped sensitive area by DEP, and they never did it. So I thought we were gonna be able to throw it back on them and say either we'll map it or you deal with this, cause, you know, you guys are the kind of ones who made the mess. You gave us a report saying we shouldn't be letting anybody do this, but then you didn't follow through in your own recommendation and map it technically so that we could hang our hats on that. DEP is one of the worst agencies in the state. They really are.
And again, we're talking about a different one, but that one, like you said, if they submitted a aggregation plan or something in a plan, like Ed had said, we'd approve that, and then that would have to go to the state for approval.
No.
But he's saying it doesn't.
And he's saying it doesn't.
No,
anymore.
the-
And that changed?
My understanding is the department approval on the aggregate is no longer department approval. It's just local approval.
So the aggregate plan would come to us,
Yes. Yep,
and it wouldn't even go to DEP.
that's correct.
But then again, that's the whole, another one beyond, once we get past this.
So my thinking though too, yeah, I lean towards the 30 because it's just the extra protection, but there is the variant, I mean, they can come and ask a variance to us, right? So
But a
there is
variance,
that
we
leeway to
can
go
only
down
give
the
variance for certain reasons, so are we gonna deem down there a nitrogen sensitive area to withhold the 30, but then let other people where it's not a nitrogen sensitive area, give them a reason why we can waive it down to 20 if we had to?
I
We
guess
just
in
can't
an
give a
area,
variance for any reason we want.
like in an area where it's surrounded by conservation land that could not be built upon, and then you could say, yeah, look, there's no risk of any other private wells in the area, so, you know,
Yeah.
go ahead and grant the variance. And that's what variances are for situations like that where you're really not hurting anyone by doing it, so.
Right, and I mean, it's just a tough regulation we're trying to put in also because you're putting it on the whole town. So you're gonna say 30,000 for a public water supply and a septic now in the entire town. Well, we know we have town water from Taunton and Middleborough
Yeah.
on parts of town, and now people have to put a 30,000 square foot lot when it's not needed.
No,
But that's
I'm not talking about that one. That one's looks to be 20. I'm talking about the first one,
Okay.
which
That's
is
just
where
even-
both are, where you have a private water and a private septic, being the 30. Right? The 20, the part two, I'm fine with.
But I mean, that was
20,000.
their argument to go to 30. They want it for Clark Shores, for, that was his whole idea. He doesn't care about other places that have a private well. and
No, but like
septic.
Chris is saying though, with that water supply,
So why would you have
then
it smaller with a
you
water
have the
supply?
30 with a water supply.
But that makes no sense. You're backwards.
No, it's how we have it now.
But you're telling me if you don't even have a well in your property, you have to have 30,000 square feet?
No, 20.
No, 20.
No, we're saying 20 if you have a water,
Okay,
30 if you have a well.
that's the way this is
Right?
written right now in front of us.
Correct,
So we all,
that's
yeah.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
okay.
Yeah, more area
Yeah.
if you have a well, is what
Okay.
I'm leaning towards. The other one, where there's water coming in,
Okay. But just, it doesn't address his
that's
argument.
yeah, it's tough because those
So
are
we're
abutting wells,
not, by
right?
thinking we're going to 30, it doesn't even factor in that lot, because it doesn't, that's under the 20.
That lot could still be done if it was 20.
Correct.
Under this new reg.
Okay, which makes sense. Okay,
But 2 bedrooms.
right, because it's,
Like right now, there's somebody mad because we won't give him another bedroom. It hasn't come to a meeting, so I hasn't said anything, but I've been getting calls. But you just can't start having bedrooms.
okay. And then you
I
can
think
always
after
do
this
that.
is all squared away, we should talk to DEP and send them a copy of that and say, you guys told us this was a nitrogen sensitive area, but your other reg says it's supposed to be mapped, you know, how do you guys want to address this?
'Cause I did go to that meeting last Wednesday.
Oh, yeah? Did you ask them?
No, I just went to it just to be, in case somebody from town went and
Oh.
was like, is this happening in our town? Just because it happened to be in Lakeville.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they're hearing a lot about nitrogen stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not just Barnstable,
No, I'm saying the meeting in Barnstable.
no.
Well,
Yeah,
there's one
was
in
it
Lakeville, one in online.
There was a public hearing Wednesday here.
last Monday.
We're way off topic, but just so
Yes.
you guys know, DEP, now if your septic's in failure, unless it's like really bad and flowing out in the lawn, you don't have to check it and upgrade it until you sell your property. DEP's trying to pass something that says everybody, like whole towns, depending on where they're located and how they deem their area as sensitivity,
It's a coastal
have
area.
5 years to upgrade their septic systems,
Do a treatment system.
period. Everybody gotta put a treatment system.
It's in
not
coastal
Lakeville.
areas because of nitrogen in the.
But Lakeville's
estuaries.
not in it now. There was questions on if Lakeville was gonna be in it because of the lake and because of, and we're not. So, but that's what, at first, there was a question if we were, and that's why Chris went last week to make sure we weren't. Because some towns like Dartmouth are fighting it, and if they were gonna tell everybody in Lakeville they had to spend 25 grand, I was gonna
Maybe it'd be more.
put on this meeting for us to
It would
vote
be-
to fight it too.
There's a lot more to it than that. We can't really get into it in the middle of a public hearing. But, yeah.
All right, back to public hearing. Let's.
All right, so.
So I'm
so
fine with
20
30, I
water,
get it.
30 without water, with a well.
Right, but we still have to change, what are we talking about changing? So we don't have to change
Upland.
anything?
We add
Upland.
upland to
And we
both.
do want to add upland? I'm not a big
Okay.
fan of upland, now we're at 30, but that's a lot of area on upland, but I understand.
Well, on 20, I mean, 20's barely enough to fit your stuff, but 30, I guess we could,
So just put upland on 20, but not on 30.
let's just call them both 20,000 upland, how's that?
You're making it confusing.
No, I'm just making it simple.
No, because now we're adding, it's a 30,000 square feet, but 20 of it has to be uplands.
Yeah, and on the other one, it all has to be upland, so we can just say, we can just put these regs, you pertain to lots of over 20,000 of upland,
Okay.
20,000 or more upland, we can just add that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
One of them asterisks at the bottom that cover both of them. How's that? I'm trying to simplify things.
Yes,
Who's gonna read it?
Bob's writing, he's, I guess, in charge of trying to straighten this out, so we all agree on it.
Well, I
So
can
they're
finally
both-
read again.
Just to be clear, they're both upland and, on a public water supply is 20 and what it is for a well? And, is that 20 or 30?
30.
30.
We're gonna leave it the way it was.
Okay.
30 and
So
20.
the only thing we're adding is upland for both of them.
Yeah, so we can leave them as typed. We can vote to make the changes as typed with an asterisk after them saying, and all lots have to have 20,000 feet of upland.
Okay.
That's pretty simple.
If you want to read it, Chris,
That makes
it would just be that.
Hold on a second. Does anybody else want to comment on this part of it? I know you're here for the next one, but. All right, go ahead, Chris.
Wait.
Well,
Oh, I mean,
are we gonna
but
read?
yeah. but you
No,
guys
he already
can-
read them all, right?
Well, I just,
You'd have to read the
we should,
changes.
we should.
Oh, okay.
We should read the one with deleting, it says, in its entirety, and then read the new ones in their entirety with the new wording you're
And I've been
adding
hanging
to
you
it.
guys out for a couple of months. I'll try this.
Okay,
And I'll make a motion that we are gonna delete existing reg 2.0. That we don't have to read. We know what it is.
read it, we have to read it,
You gotta read the whole old one?
yep.
A lot less than 1/2 acre rounded down to 20,000 square feet of upland acreage shall be deemed too small for both water and sewage disposal. We are going to replace that with 2.0, no dwelling, building, or structure to be served by an on-site source of potable water or individual subsurface disposal system shall hereafter be erected, placed, or converted on any lot having an area of less than 30,000 square feet unless a variance has been granted by the Board of Health. 2.02, no building, dwelling, or structure to be connected to a public water supply system shall hereby be erected, placed, or converted on any lot having an area of less than 20,000 square feet unless a variance has been granted by the Board of Health. And those will be followed by an asterisk that say these pertain to lots that have, only pertain to lots that have over 20,000 square feet of upland.
Second,
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, now let's get to the regular stuff.
All right. It is Wednesday, December 7th at 6:37. I'm calling the Board of Health meeting to order. Is anyone recording this meeting besides LakeCAM? I see no one. First on the agenda is 1 Parker's Drive, meet with Zenith Consulting Engineers to discuss requested variances and local upgrade approvals.
Excuse me, Chris.
Yep.
I think everybody's here for 7. You wanna just jump down so we don't keep them here for 3 hearings? Jamie's representing all of them,
You're
so
all
he
three,
doesn't have to
so.
leave. Yeah,
All right,
I'm
so,
messing him up.
all right, we'll go out of order to 7 Azalea Street to continue discussion on regarding nitrogen loading with Zenith Engineering.
Am I correct? That's what everybody else is here for, right? Okay.
Go ahead, Jamie.
All set? All right.
Yep.
Good evening, Jamie Bissonette, Zenith Consulting Engineers for the record. I was not at the last meeting. One of the other engineers in my office was, but I understand that quite a bit was discussed. And since that meeting, we've gone back and looked at the plans themselves and the regulations. Our client has spoken with his legal counsel, who has provided us with a letter that I got it today, so I do apologize, it's dated today as well. I apologize for the late notice, but, if I may, it's just his synopsis of the regulations. I have a copy. You can have it.
Can I comment?
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says this regulation applies only to new construction of nitrogen sensitive areas designated as 310. This is a private well area, it's not a nitrogen sensitive area.
Yeah.
Both are subject to the 440 gallons per day, but it is not a nitrogen sensitive area.
He addresses each one of those topics in his letter. He thinks it's meshing things, from the way that, and I personally don't disagree. I understand the intention of having wells and septics in the area and on the lots, but the way that the regulation reads to him, and he just copies and pastes the actual regulation. I brought a copy of Title V if it's not mapped out as a nitrogen sensitive area or within an IWPA or a zone 2 or zone 1, then it's not considered nitrogen sensitive. If you go to the subsequent regulation, which you're referring to, it says if you're proposing an area of new septics and new wells, there's no new wells being proposed on site or anywhere. There's only a septic with municipal water. And so that's the fundamental difference here, is there's no wells being proposed. Now, based on the topic of the report from 77, if the state had mapped the area as nitrogen sensitive, we wouldn't be here. Our client wouldn't have spent money on engineering or perk tests or anything else. This wouldn't have gotten to where it is. But the fact is there is no map. And I double checked it today, even the new wells that are in the 4 or 5 public water wells, the IWPAs, all of those areas completely are shown clearly on GIS. Those are definitely nitrogen sensitive. The old wells were removed already. So if we were in that area, we wouldn't be able to do this because that would be nitrogen sensitive. But there's no map saying that this is nitrogen sensitive.
Nor does there have to be. These are private well areas. Private well areas are not mapped by DEP. They are not considered nitrogen sensitive areas. There's over 500,000 private wells in the state of Massachusetts. Lakeville just put in a couple this week and abandoned a couple this week. So there's no way you can map all the private well areas.
No question, but where does it say that a private well area is nitrogen sensitive?
It's not nitrogen sensitive, but it is subject to the 440 gallons per day.
So you can show me an area that says if you're in an area of wells?
Areas subject to nitrogen, 440 gallons per day, nitrogen sensitive areas, that's what you're talking about. Number two, areas of private wells. When we asked to clarify what a private well area was from DEP, they gave us a very clear answer that says an area was where the surrounding area had private wells.
And well,
And there are two wells within 110 feet. And 80% of the lot is within the 100-foot radius of those two wells.
Sure.
So that would be considered surrounding in almost any definition. If you have two wells surrounding it, covering 80% of the subject lot within their radius, that's surrounding.
So-
And that's what they clearly said, because both Niles and I asked for clarification. That's the clarification they gave, and to me, it's very clear.
in his letter too, he also pointed out that he believes when he read your letter to them, he understood it to be that you were stating it was in a nitrogen sensitive area. and
No,
these rules
I was
apply.
clearly stating it was a private well area. I was clearly stating that in my letter.
But the paper you gave me is not a Title V regulation. This is not code. This
That's from
is,
216.
no, this right here is not 216. 216 is right here.
Right,
Very
but-
different.
But from the aggregation of flows of nitrogen in sensitive areas,
Yeah, this is a guidance document.
Right.
This is, yeah, but this isn't in the regulation, this isn't in the rules itself.
it's produced by DEP and they put
Sure.
it out and they published it. So it's what's DEP's opinion. And so and they do this for clarification because questions come up. That's why they published this document. They published it years ago and it's well established and they haven't changed it. So if there was an error of some time, they wouldn't have published it.
So in this, they write what you're referring to, areas of residential new construction as designed by Title V where both systems and on-site drinking water supply wells are proposed, which I agree. These areas are so-called private well areas. There are no wells proposed.
Which is why we reached out to DEP for clarification. And the answer they gave back did not say there had to be a well on the site. They said they had to have surrounding wells. And there are two surrounding wells within 110 feet that encompass 80% of the lot, of the subject lot, within the 100-foot radius of these two wells. So to say these wells would not be affected when 80% of the lot is within the 100-foot radius, that is clearly surrounding.
But it's not about affecting the well necessarily.
It is, that's why they have restrictions for private well areas.
So
They
if
don't want to
That's
affect
my
the,
well that my kids drink out of, so it is gonna affect them that well, buddy.
But if the
You have a
lot,
heavy chance.
Yeah.
if the lot had 30,000 square feet, long and thin, same distance, same coverage in that area, that would meet what you're saying would be Title V aggregate.
correct.
So that wouldn't affect the well anymore? It'd be,
If you had 30,000 square feet, you would have more, you would have more
you
play.
could have a longer run and maybe you have more wells affecting further down. There's nothing stating that you can't have wells affecting the entire lot. It's just the square footage.
Correct, but the idea of this is to protect the surrounding wells. That's why the more area you have, the less likely you would put the septic system on the very edge of the property. You would put it in the middle because you have more area. So by limiting it to only 10,000, you only have one place to put it, and it's like 100 feet and 3 inches away from that gentleman's well. And that's a concern, and that, especially when you look at the nitrogen levels, the nitrate levels in those wells. I mean, the subject property, you have, I mean, DEP, or not, the US EPA, most wells, just so most people know, nitrate is a serious concern both for infants. It's fatal to infants at a certain level. It can cause cancer, it can cause birth defects, and it can cause miscarriages. And most wells that I see, the level is less than 1.1 milligram per liter. The US Environmental Protection Agency, anything over 5 is a severe degradation of the water quality, and they do not recommend it for children less than the age of 1. So in this area, the property you're talking, it's 7.35. So right there, they're saying it's a severe degradation. This gentleman's well is 8.7. again, a severe degradation. The other well that's in the area is 10.9. That can be fatal to babies. And those are the three closest well. I didn't cherry pick those. Those are the three closest well.
Sure.
And you look at the nitrate levels just in that area. So to come in and say, okay, we're gonna put another septic system in and put more in there. And as this gentleman said, you know, you put a 3-bedroom in there, you could have 8 or 9 people in that house. So you could have a huge increase in the nitrogen in there. Already in an area that's this dangerous, where the water has such degradation that it's actually dangerous for kids. And you want to increase it. And that's what this regulation of 440 gallons per day means. They're trying to limit the amount per acreage. So when you're picking one of the worst areas in all of Lakeville, and you're trying to put a 3-bedroom house on a 10,000 square foot lot, you're not only just making it worse, you're making it intensifying it even worse, because you're ignoring one of the regulations that keeps all our wells safe. If you look at most of Lakeville, we don't have this issue. They're all almost less than 1, because we have 70,000 square foot lots, and we don't have to worry about that in the other areas in Lakeville. But in this area, which was poorly planned, and I think everyone agreed that whoever planned this, putting 5,000 square foot lots on and having a septic system and well on a 5,000 square foot lot is going to cause a problem in the future, as Bob mentioned earlier.
Well, they used to have seasonal water, so I think that's how they got around it. They used to just have seasonal water, so they still weren't having wells on a lot of the lots. Over the years, people put wells in. How a lot of those wells got there, they just put them in probably
Legally.
before we even had regs for them, or illegally.
And that's just it, though. So the regulations, they
If
didn't have the
if the
proper
whole
regulations
neighborhood
in
was
place.
still on one water source or on, but now in the year round, if every house was hooked up to it, this wouldn't be as big of a concern, but right now, because a town can make people hook up, but we can't make anybody do to real water, but we can't make people hook up to a private company. So if everybody down there had a hook up, then that wouldn't be as big of an issue, because there's no risk of the kids or anybody having it. But it's because that it's not. And another prime example of DEP just going around us, making a mess and then dumping it on us to fix, is we got a couple of notices and we gave them comments, and they didn't take into account any of our concerns when they did that. They just did it. And, not trying to pass the buck. We get in my opinion, we get two very different opinions on this. I am reading that DEP's answer was in an area where the surrounding homes are serviced by private wells and septics, blah, blah, blah. So on that part of it, it sounds like DEP is saying it doesn't have to be on that. They're specifically in their response said surrounding areas homes that have wells. But I would like to be able to send this to town council and DEP and get a comment on this letter we just got tonight. I mean, we're getting this right now at the meeting, and I'm not a lawyer or an engineer, so not that I'm saying I don't necessarily agree with Jamie or the lawyer that did it, but Bob Mather.
Yeah, I mean, we would ask that, that you could even run it by, the attorney stated the question, if in his question, he actually writes exactly the answer, or the question that he's looking to be asked, which I think is what we're all asking, which is 7 azalea, is that in a nitrogen sensitive area?
No, we're not, no one here is saying it's in a nitrogen sensitive area.
I
We're
think
saying
it is
it's
by that report.
All right.
Whether we're voting on that or not, I believe it is.
Right, but my question to DEP was, is this subject to a private well area? And his definition of a private well area was private wells surrounding the lot, not necessarily on the lot. So again, we're not talking about
So the question that DEP answered here, it says, in an area where the surrounding homes are serviced by private wells and septics, the surrounding homes, that question was asked about wells and not about nitrogen?
Exactly.
That's an
Nowhere
answer to wells.
in my question did I mention nitrogen sensitive areas. I said private well areas. I wanted specific clarification on what a private well area is, because we had this discussion with Niles. So we are not talking about nitrogen sensitive areas. They are not mapped, and we're not asking that in any way. In much of his letter, he's mentioning that, and we don't care about that. We're talking about private well areas.
So I guess the question is then what is the threshold for the well areas? And who makes it? Because it can't just be out there. It can't be left to just
And
one person. It
That's
has
a
to be
great question,
regulatory.
Jamie, but I don't know if we need to answer that tonight on this thing. Tonight, we're talking about this specific lot with two wells, one within 100 feet and another within 110
But they
feet.
both meet Title V setback. The 100 feet is the minimum setback that they say is
But
a
to say
safe
it's not,
setback.
but to say it's not surrounding when you have two wells within 110 feet, those aren't surrounding, because that's the clarification that we received from DEP. And like I said, which both myself and Niles asked for. We asked for the.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but we're going around and around. This question was asked about wells, if you're saying that's what happened, this was their answer. But I mean, my problem is more in not saying that this isn't part of it, but like, I don't like making a vote inconsistently and then the next one having to, I'd like us, if we're gonna have all this information, so like Jamie's asking, what's gonna be the threshold? I would like us to decide what we're gonna use as a threshold going forward, that it's not just a random decision. Now, even though they didn't map it, DEP did a report saying that's one of the worst nitrogen sensitive areas. It's in all the wells. You just stated all the wells it's in and the levels it's in. It's not even safe for little kids to be drinking. So my concern always comes back to the safety and the health, kind of like when we found out arsenic was in the wells. Well, if it's a low amount, arsenic doesn't, you got to drink a ton of arsenic for it to hurt you. But then I found out it gets absorbed in the skin. And then, who takes baths every night in the sink or in the tub? Little kids, right? So then you say, well, I'm adding that, I wanted to add that to the reg because I don't want some other coming to me and saying, well, you guys knew it was in the water and I've been giving my kids a bath for 3 years and now they got cancer. So I like to have reasons and know all the angles to make a decision instead of just saying, tonight we're only gonna talk about this one. I mean, because this one, how we vote is gonna affect, in my opinion, how we move forward on some of the other things. And again, this is here, I mean, I know Jamie and I know Bob Mather, but there's a lot in here to try to, I'm not, like I said, I'm not an engineer. I'd like town council to look at it. I'd like to send this to DEP and ask them if they still, to clarify, if they still say this here, what our answer was to the last question, or if any of this here changes their opinion or has something else. Because, I mean, I've been on this board over 10 years and we've gone out of our way to clean up a lot of the stuff, and the loan program added tons of money so people can fix septics. And it just goes against everything I've done all these years to start putting in more houses in a place where we know there's problems. And maybe that's not a legal answer. Maybe that's just my own feeling, and maybe, maybe we'll get sued if depending on how I vote, but I just can't. It'll be like I wasted all these years trying to do the right thing to start changing that stuff. That's just my personal opinion, but that's how I feel. But I'd like to at least continue this to give us a chance to have this looked at, if you agree.
Yeah, Bob just stole some of what I was gonna say too, is, I mean, the 1977 study, I read that a couple of years ago. I brought it up to you guys in another thing, that it was amazing that they recommended sewer for down there. And so it was a cottage community that was seasonal and eventually started building up to become year-round houses. And they're happening all over the state. They used that one as the example to do their entire study on, and how bad it was. And that was in the 70s. Right?
77.
And like Bob just said, since I've been on the board, like trying to make it better down there has like been one of our bigger goals. Like we were happy to see the wells go down there, as much as it was going to be difficult for us. We have to see cleaner water down there, right? And I see 3 bedrooms on just over 10,000 square feet, a brand new construction. I'm like, that's not helping the situation. To me, it's not, it's not an improvement to me, is what I look at that. And this whole run around, I lean towards, what Ed's saying, that's my opinion so far. That, the well area, but we probably should have maybe better guardrails on it. you know? And
Well, I mean,
hear from
this-
town council, they have their opinion on the letter, and
Yeah, well, I mean, this is 2 pages of legal and engineering stuff that I'm not qualified to agree or dispute any of it on my own, just looking at it for 10 minutes tonight, so.
I think that the litmus test or the threshold is always, anybody should be able to read it and understand it and follow it. So I get the fact that, you know, this area, I wasn't aware of the 77 study. But I understand that this is an area that you guys are trying to do work with and improve. But on the flip side is there are people that own properties that have rights to them. There are also people that have spent money and time to develop these properties and things like that. It should be very clear, very upfront. It shouldn't be, well, in this case, it's gonna be 2 wells over here. In this case, it's gonna be 3. In this case, it could be 1. What if we're talking about spite wells? I mean, the question is, could everybody tie into the water? You know, I mean, there's loads of questions that, you know, would have, and that's why this just, to me, this doesn't pass the smell test of, this is the hard and fast regulation. They make things very clear so that I look at it, you look at it, and we come up with the same answer. It should be. And Ed and I, we don't disagree about a lot. I mean, we do on this, but usually this is pretty black and white, you know?
He doesn't honestly make anything clear, though. I tried getting an answer out of them for 6 years about what our water for private wells should be, and none of their engineers would give us a straight answer.
Sure, but on
So-
Title V, you know, they tell you 100 feet, it's 100 feet, you know, and you can ask for a variance and you can justify it, but it says 100 feet. If it said 95 feet, then that's what we would meet. So we're trying the best we can when we're looking at it to fall into those regulations. So I agree, if we can get DEP or council or both's opinion, we want to do what's right. If it doesn't meet the regulations, if it's not legal, then we don't want to do it. And we need to know so that there's nothing going forward. Now, obviously, the new regulation tonight
That was
is
gonna be
going
my
to
point.
prohibit
So
that
this is
anyways.
pretty much the last law we're gonna even discuss
Sure.
on this, because
Yeah.
we just approved the
Yeah.
regulation that this isn't even allowed anymore.
Sure, yeah.
So, we're,
But even still, I mean, you just heard what these people's wells, the nitrogen in their wells are. I mean, I want to have everything answered. I can't see adding to it. I personally don't see adding to it. But again, I don't want to make a decision without having any of this stuff answered properly.
But, I mean, you want a clear-cut thing, and I think it's really a case-by-case basis, you know? Like I said, I mean, we know the way groundwater flows, it's like, okay, you have a 100-foot radius, but like, a lot of times if you're upstream of that 100-foot, you really don't need the full 100 feet. And like I said, you need to factor in the fact that what's the existing nitrate levels in the areas and things like that. So when you're looking at trying to get lawyers' opinions and everything, and you're ignoring basic facts, like this water is dangerous, because that letter doesn't mention anything about nitrate levels in the area. And as the Board of Health, we are here to protect the health of the residents of Lakeville. We're not here to take orders from attorneys or anything like that. We have to look at the data, some of which I just mentioned here, and say, okay, how do we protect these residents? So if we're just listening to lawyers and not looking at data like that, that's how you get a Flint, Michigan. You know, you're looking at, okay, how the wording
I'm
is.
not saying I'm gonna let a lawyer make my decision.
Right.
But on the flip side, if the lawyer reads this and finds there's something clear that could put the town of Lakeville on the hook for a $1 million lawsuit, I at least wanna know that before I make my vote. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and, you know,
I think I've made it clear how I personally feel.
Yeah.
But we have an obligation to at least, cause I'm a little different. I'm a very black and white person. And, you know, and I don't, long story short, years ago, Jared Dowling, greatest guy in the world, came to us and he wanted all the stable rigs gone. He goes, you guys are a reasonable bunch of guys. We shouldn't have to worry about this stuff. You guys are working with the people. You guys do the right thing. And I said, Jared, I don't want a rig that's gonna make me, I go, you might like, it was me, Garvey, and Terry maybe at the time. And I go, yeah, you might like us all. I says, what if a new board comes in 5 years and none of them like horses? I says, nobody should have the power to say, just on their own opinion or how they deem something, that nobody could have a horse. It should be, if you have this and you meet this, you can do this. And like I said, my biggest issue is, yeah, maybe it was supposed to be mapped, but they did a report. So you can't give us this big page. And that report also stated that there shouldn't have been any conversions allowed down there year round, which a ton have been done. So we're already allowing stuff on the existing homes of the people that they said we shouldn't be doing in that report, but now to start building more down there, it just, I really just, I think I'm clear, everybody's clear where I am, but I still, I'm not gonna worry about specifically what the lawyer says, but I at least wanna know the answers, and I'm hoping he gives me something stronger to hang my hat on than my own personal feeling about something. And then that's why I wanna send it out to them, but.
Do you have anything more there? Just gonna open it up.
No, like, this was just handed to us, and I would like to read it a little more and digest it, and if we get an opinion.
I'm gonna open up to everybody else, but I think we're all in agreement, we all know the history of the neighborhood, so we don't need to go too far down that road. But if anybody's got a comment pertaining to what's going on, I mean, you guys wanna, just,
Come up.
yeah, just come up
There's this, microphone right there on the
right there in
table.
the chair.
Steve Melanson, I live at 4 Violet Street in Lakeville. I want to consider the health of the water system before you approve other people to signing on to it. As they weren't approved for future loans and the people aren't paying that are on it. So the future of the water system is unsure. So that's just another thing you might want to keep in the back of your head.
No, Ed, we don't have anything to do with that, correct? He's
I don't
talking
know,
about.
would you guys be interested in buying the water system or taking it over? Taking it
No.
over?
DEP should get the state to do it because they're the ones who permitted.
They don't want.
DEP did, I know, they keep doing stuff, right? They keep doing stuff like the hospital. That cleanup, that's not us, it's in Lakeville, but we can't handle that, that's them.
The
What have
water's-
they done? They
the
haven't
water-
done nothing on the cleanup.
It's costing the water like $224,000 a year to run the project, and they're taking in like $4,000 a month.
Oh, yeah. And now,
So it's operating in a deficit that is like
Unsustainable.
you wouldn't believe. And when it does close up, the USDA will just lock the door, and there'll be 63 people a year round without water and 111 in the summer end. So.
and then what happens? All the houses gotta get condemned? It's not a good
Yeah, last
situation.
time, that basically we had to
Yeah.
step up and we had to take over the water system and buy it. But the people that did that have been doing it for 20 years and now we're tired and we're not
Yeah.
gonna be doing it anymore. And the new people and the new generations really don't want it, don't want to do it. So it's at the point now where I'm actually on the board of directors for Clark Shores Water.
Okay.
And I'm resigning probably the end of the year. And the other 2 people left are probably resigning also.
Yeah.
So,
Can we reach out to DEP on this? Ed?
yeah, and that's why I kind of wanted to run by you guys if I actually asked Ed on the phone if you guys would be willing, or even willing, or would talk about buying the system or even just taking it over. Because it's
a bigger discussion.
it's like a $7 million system. I think there's $2.5 million owed on it. So you would be getting yeah, you'd be getting a bonus, but if the people don't start paying, and there seems to be a concerted effort in the community not to pay, they think I think the quote was, let it crash and burn and rise like a phoenix from the ashes, I think I heard. And that's the quote I got from the Clark Shores.
Right.
So-
We knew when this was getting permitted, it was gonna be problems.
It's gonna be, and I just wanna say, if you're gonna be approving future lots, and like you say, these 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, like,
Yeah.
even the regulation, if it was 20, this is 10, you know what I mean? It's kinda like, it's even half of what the regulation was,
Yeah.
so. Even at that rate, it's not feasible, you know, but I'm just saying, if, in the future, you know, I probably shouldn't be saying anything about the water system, but I just wanna say that it's not fair to have his client hook up, and then
Not have
3
water.
months from now, the water system shuts down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then there's gonna be a big problem, because,
Then what, then he has to come back in for another variance to get a well approved on it?
right, and you can't get it, and
Yeah,
I
we
can't
wouldn't
get
give
it, because
them.
I can't do it either, because you
We wouldn't
let
give
him
them.
build a house.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
the
I can't
problem
put in,
now.
I can't put in a well in my 16,000 square foot lot next door that has that water. You know what I mean? But it kind of, it makes the whole neighborhood
Oh, yeah.
too compact, too tight,
No, they made a mess by doing that, and they went around us for years. That was in the works for years, that woman that
Yeah.
ran it, what was her name that started the whole thing?
Patricia Walsh and,
Rosemary.
Rosemary
yeah.
Walsh, yeah.
And she'd come to the meetings, oh, we got all the
Yeah.
funding, this and this. We're just coming here informatively, I was on the board then, informatively, the DEP's controlling all this, so making sure it's done right. And once it started, like, I drove through there one day to see what was going on, and I'm like, they're not even putting the pipes down deep like that. Like, they
5
weren't
feet, I
following
think.
any
Yeah.
regs that like a city, like Taunton, Middleborough, like I run water lines.
Yeah.
Derek runs miles of them. like,
Yeah.
they weren't conforming to any standards that anybody else would have
The
to.
engineers, it seemed like the engineers made the plans, the DPU said, okay, and they ran, and then nobody else had any say, you know?
Yeah.
That's just the way it
But I mean,
ran.
the state's sitting on a ton of money now, so much so that they started sending some back. I mean,
Right.
and after a conversation with DEP about it, I mean, I stay in contact with, Representative Rodericks, who does our area.
Right.
He's actually a really good guy. He tries to help this town whenever he can. And maybe he can get on board with us and help us.
Right.
Maybe we have to do something like that.
Yeah, 'cause
But
they-
Lakeville shouldn't have to pay for it.
No, no,
DEP's
but-
the state.
Right.
If they screwed it up, then the state should fix it. The residents of
Right.
Lakeville shouldn't
Right,
get on
they
the
should
hook to
take it
fix
over
it.
and run it. Somebody should take it
Yeah.
over and run it that the community's not against at this point.
Yeah.
Because now the community is against the water system and it's a concerted effort to have them fail.
Yeah.
But they really just hurt themselves because they're not gonna have any water when it happens, you know? And when last time it happened, you know, literally, nobody would help us. We had to
But
get
there's no
50,000.
meters
The
on
community
any
had to
of the
get up
houses,
with
right?
50,000. I'm sorry?
There's no meters on any of the houses, right?
There's meters on them, but they don't charge according to it
Yeah.
because there's not enough people.
Yeah.
There's 63 year-round people, I think, on the water, and it's literally $8,500 in loans and another $1,500 a month to run the shack,
Yeah.
the water pump house. So it's $224,000 a year to run the water system, and literally, we're taking in $4,000 to $6,000 a month. So if you do the math, it's, you know, we're just a few months away.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, if you're going to continue, if you're going to, you know, use that water source system, it's a private system, so it can fold any day. You can't depend on it. I just want to say, you know, keep that in the back of your mind too, with the size of the lots, because you want, in the future, you might have to let people drill wells that have a reasonable piece of land, you know, and if you have somebody build on every 5,000 or 10,000 square foot, you know, I know you've made a great effort in a month. I applaud you. Bravo for all that you did in a month since it started, but that's just another thing I wanted to throw out there was the water, because I've been trying to let people know that I've invested in it, and there are people that want to privately fund lines to put in the roads up there, that want to put $55,000 down to run a line to their house, and you know, everybody needs to know where things stand.
You're on the board, right?
Yeah, yeah, but I got
Could you
dragged
make
in
sure Ed
recently.
has all your information?
Yeah, I
Because if
can.
we're gonna start talking to DEP in the state, it would be nice to, because I don't, until you just said you were one of the board members, I wouldn't
Yeah.
even have known who to contact.
No, I got dragged in at one of the meetings a couple of years ago to try to help them fix all the problems, and they're not fixable.
Yeah.
You know, with the people and the people that are there now. A state entity has to take it over at this point of the town
Yeah.
to make this work, you know?
Well, the
So-
state made the mess. I mean, they made the mess at the hospital, they
Right.
haven't fixed it yet. If they're
Right.
gonna make this mess though, they can't let this sit, because all of a sudden, if a
Right.
bunch of houses don't have water, they'll have to take
Exactly.
action.
And we're trying our best to
Yeah.
keep it going, but there's 3 of us left running the whole water system. They're out of, I don't know, there was a dozen before, but everybody's leaving, you know, because
Yeah, just make sure Ed has all your
I
information.
will, yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
I was just wondering if.
Just wanna
variances
step up.
were- Sure. Just wondering, you can get a variance if you have a piece of property and you want a variance to change the rules a little bit. Can people do that in the opposite direction? Like this gentleman here, can he get a variance to say, I don't want a septic 100 feet, I want 150 feet? Can he get a variance for that?
No.
So you can't get a variance to protect yourself, you can only get a variance to
To go
hinder somebody
close.
else?
Yeah.
To
Variance
encroach.
is usually to a hardship, right? You know, usually, most of it's on repairs, septic repair, right? You know, your septic's failing, you need a new septic, and you're on a small lot, you're too close to water, we give variances on that, so you can replace it. It's either that or condemn the house.
Right,
So there's a hardship there.
Okay.
It's usually where the variance comes in, it's not.
Yeah, but what if you
Someone
wanted to
just give
vary
them out
for
because we
1,000
wanna
feet,
give
then
stuff out.
nobody around there could build anything, you know, and that's kind of what they were talking about. It came up quickly if people don't realize, like what we call a spike well, like a spike fence. You know, say somebody right next to that lot, put a well in tomorrow. Now there's a well 10 feet away, now it's, you know what I mean?
right, right.
And that's why there's the setbacks and the variances we give and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And, you know, if somebody had an existing well, they went on the water and it failed, we'd still take a look at that it doesn't, you know, we can't let people just go around making sure, you know, that they don't get along with their neighbor. Oh, I'm gonna put my well here, now they can't upgrade the septic system. So we gotta watch out all sides.
Chicken coops,
Oh, yeah,
chicken coops near pools.
yeah,
Can I just point out, we don't have any variances on our plan.
yeah.
Right, you meet all regulations
Yeah.
per
I have a
Title
question about that,
V.
actually. So you guys are saying the lot size between 20,000?
We just gotta do it one at a time so the microphones can pick it up. Sorry.
You gotta come
Go
up to
ahead.
the microphone.
I know you have to leave, Jamie,
I have to leave here at 7:30.
on 7:30, okay.
My name's Ken, I'm the owner at 11 Azalea, next door to the lot in question. You guys said that there was no variances, right? But we're talking about 20,000 square feet. If that's only a 10,000 square foot lot, how does it qualify to build at all?
We just approved this 20,000
So you're.
R1, and this was pre-existing prior to us just approving it. See, and this was already submitted, so that regulation we just passed tonight
You didn't
doesn't.
have,
It's going forward, not
Going-
retroactively.
what was the regulation prior to that?
It said that you would have to have 20,000 square feet to have both a well and a septic. And since there was no well,
There's no
they're
well.
trying to do it.
That was the gray area when Niles was here that we were talking about that?
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
They
that
don't need a
wording
lot.
didn't say public water supply, so it didn't encompass this lot.
Okay.
Which again, in theory, if everybody down there was hooked up to a water supply that was being checked weekly and we knew there was safe water, nitrogen's not that big of a deal, right? Because nobody's drinking the stuff in the ground.
But we're using
But
words
is
like
that-
spite well, and you're hearing about the collapse of the water system in the
yeah.
neighborhood, so it's kind
They
of.
consider themselves a private water system too.
Yeah.
It's also, it's not a public water system.
Yeah, it's private.
It's not municipal, but it's considered public by
It serves
DEP
more than
regs.
one
'Cause it
property.
serves multiple
So it's still
houses.
public.
It's owned by everybody, so everybody's a owner.
I got one more question real quick before I get off. They had, I came home one day to a topical survey being done of the lot itself, and that lot itself is the lowest area in that whole area of our neighborhood. Specifically where they want to put that house is the lowest area. So when they backfill that and build a house there, who takes into account the water that's being diverted? Because there's 4 streets dumping out. We can go there. We can all take a field trip right there, right now. There's 4 streets dumping into that lot, and specifically right where that house is planned. So when he does that and he picks it up, you see my house right there on the other side? All that water is gonna be diverted into my basement, my driveway, deterioration of my foundation, et cetera. So,
The water shouldn't have been diverted onto the lot.
It's just a low point.
what is it?
Technically, the water shouldn't have been diverted on the lot. You're not allowed to discharge drain water onto someone else's property.
The water diverts on the lot.
It's from the street.
It's,
It's still,
what I'm
it should be
talking
going
about.
onto the lot.
I'm talking about
There's no
if you-
drainage there. right?
Correct, there's no drainage, but if you go stand on this lot, on the edge
Oh, I
of this
understand.
lot, right on the street, it's the lowest point. It's not like anybody did it intentionally. That's just how it is. We can, no, last time we were here, you said something about, oh, if the neighbor's building up his lot, I caught the comment last time too. Now we're talking about intentional stuff, like intentionally, nobody's doing nothing but just living in our neighborhood. And we're talking about a lawyer giving you guys paperwork because people want to use words over what's right. Like, let's do what's ethically and morally correct over like making a buck off of the guy's property that wants to build a house there, like stuffing a family in a neighborhood that doesn't need to be here. Like, we're here. He's saying things like, oh, well, my client spent money on this, that, and the third. Well, I'm sorry, that happens sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But like now we're using words like spite. Well, let's use spite house. Now we're building a spite house because now my client spent all this money, so now I have to build it.
Yeah.
Would you put your kids next to that house after hearing 8.37 in my well? Would you put your own kids there? Because that's what you should go home and look at tonight. Am I trying to make a buck? Am I trying to do what's right? Or do I not care about other people's lives? Because that's what we're talking about. Because when you fill that lot up, because I don't have the money, I said it last time, I don't have the money to backfill my lot as much as a contractor is going to come in or an engineering company is going to come in and do that, right? Then are we going to enforce every piece of that septic? Because I've been in building and engineering meetings myself personally, and I've also been the installer for plumbing on site, and what's on an engineering plan ain't the as-built. We all know that. Anybody that's built knows that ain't the as-built. So are we going to guarantee that that thing's going to stay 100 feet away from my well, or is the septic actually going to get built at 90?
Actually, we do guarantee that. I will guarantee you that, personally.
Well, it has to be staked in place
And I
and
take your,
surveyed
and I
afterwards to
take your,
prove that where it is where it is.
Correct.
If they stamp something that's not accurate, that's on them. You know
The
what I'm saying?
the question about the water being diverted on the lot, you said it's illegal to do the drainage. Nobody did that. That's how the roads were built. Who accounts for that now that we're trying to put a house there? If
So they would
you
have to
guys
have-
vote on this house getting built and then that happens, so now, then after the water starts flooding out and I get all this water in my basement, where do I go? Where do I go for help? At that point, if it gets approved.
But the water shouldn't go onto your property. is
My
what I'm
property's
saying.
the abutting property right next door.
So that's what designs are for.
I'm like 3 feet high. As
But
soon
it-
as they
it will.
stuff it, it's gonna go right in my yard. That's a,
It will.
It's gonna go, like, this is crazy because you guys can sit here and act like, oh, well, that paper, but like, let's be adults. Let's talk about like what's real, the real world, what's really gonna happen. Because what's really gonna happen is stick a house in that spot right there. There's a old glass table that some weird ass dude used to sit at all the time to smoke cigarettes and stare at my little kids at in that spot where that house is right now. Go stand there and tell me that's not the lowest point in the whole neighborhood.
It is.
Then they're gonna put a house there and they're gonna what? Flood my basement out? Like what's gonna happen, you know? That's 20 feet away. The well you're talking about is right on the corner of the house right there.
If I can explain how we've graded the site, proposed wise, is we're pitching it around both sides of the house to continue down gradient.
Like when you're pitching.
You just said
it's going into his yard.
you're pitching it right into my yard, is what you just.
I said around the house. If you follow the contours, it's gonna follow down and around the back, just like this right here. And this is number 11, you're 15, right?
I'm 11.
All right.
You'll guarantee that water's not gonna be diverted to my property? You'll bet your company on it?
I don't
Engineering?
I don't build.
I know, you're just an engineer.
Yeah, the builder would have to, and if
Yeah,
they don't.
and the builder won't. You know, the builder's gonna be there smoking butts, flipping me off, doing all this shit while he's building the house.
All right,
Like,
I understand it's touchy.
You might wanna let
but
your
we don't
client
need to
know that
get.
it's not gonna be like a friendly time living in this neighborhood, because we're all pissed off about it. Everybody surrounding that house, and even the people that aren't here tonight don't want it to happen. They're just maybe too much of a backbone, because if he gets it approved, they don't wanna have to face him.
To be fair, where is the water gonna go?
It's gonna go around the house like it does now and down the hill and back.
No, it's not.
To whose property?
The exact same direction that it's heading in now.
No, it's not. The property owner behind it's got a sill fence up that'll definitely stop it.
Okay? Yeah, it's gonna head in contours.
It's gonna head that way, and then it's gonna be right in my
There's a sill
backyard.
fence Directly 10
Yeah.
feet behind it,
Yep.
it goes the whole way.
Yep.
I think what they're saying is,
Along it, anyone that wants to.
there's a
walk
lot of
my yard, check it
runoff
out.
from the streets because it's not just,
It's
you know,
corroding the
like
streets,
that-
it's so
I
much
mean,
runoff.
see,
Like,
you're-
go look in front of my house and look at the
Excuse
corrosion.
me.
We're not gonna question.
We gotta
it.
slow it down a little bit, right?
And I understand your design, but what they're talking about, and I think they do have firsthand knowledge, it really comes down that street. I mean, I've been there on heavy rainstorms. It's a full-on flood. It's not, you just, you know, when you do a drainage design, you're not just taking the front yard. There's huge amounts of waters that come from hundreds of feet away down those streets, and I think that's their concern, because I think they're concerned with the quantity, whereas your design, I'm not knocking your design in any way, but like I said, I don't think you took into account the quantity
The
of
amount
water
of
that's gonna
water,
come down
like I
those
said,
streets.
it was raining all pretty hard earlier. We
It
could've
starts
said,
at Justin's house and it starts at Joy Manoli's
I
house.
mean, you can put your boat in the pond with no trailer.
So.
Get on the street, it's at home.
Part of my reason wasn't to like doubt you or anything like that. It was these private roads and this construction has led to this, right? And it's not necessarily that person's fault or anyone's fault. Like, I'm just saying, like, if other things were done better too, we wouldn't have avoided the situation in the past. I'm saying it's not, I don't know, I'm just trying to make it ease things. I'm not trying to make it more confrontational, you know what I'm saying?
I agree, I just feel
And I
like,
understand what you're saying, but I just want to clear that up.
All right,
You
so,
guys are gonna say?
so if we're gonna continue, I mean, we can continue this to another meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Once, and we
we'll
still
go
have
take a
other
look
stuff
at it
the
on a
agenda.
rainy day.
And we can look in a heavy rainstorm before the next meeting if,
Yeah.
so we'll know his,
Yeah.
concern. I mean, it does, I know, I haven't been there in the rain, but it is the lowest lot. I've walked it,
It's
I
not just the
know.
rain, it's like when it snows, it's tight corners, those streets, it's not like it's a big area. You
And we
gotta
can
go
ask the
out there.
engineer to look into it for a comment, I guess, I mean, all them streets, the entire neighborhood uphill, I think all goes there.
Nothing was designed in Gloucester.
There's no drainage.
Nothing was
no-
just put in
Um,
and
just to address that,
so-
Oh, yeah.
And that was kind of my point. Like, I'm not trying to side with anyone, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of things that led to this, not just that one. You know,
I was just trying to get at, like, most of my property is about a foot to only 6 inches above this lot, so as soon as they fill it, it's all going right at me.
look,
When they built the development, they were supposed to put a septic system and a water system in. When, at Clark Shores, when they built it, originally, they were mandated to do that, and the Clark Shores didn't do it. So right at the beginning, if it had been done properly, because the well site we bought already had test wells drilled from 1957. Had 3 test wells drilled from Clark Shores. And we ended up buying the same piece of land, and it had the plans at the DPU.
Okay.
The 20th.
So,
So we're gonna make a motion for that?
Go ahead.
So are we,
You got the right date?
yeah.
yeah, everyone else good?
We're just continuing, we're not making a determination. December 21st.
And DEP.
And DEP and December 21st. I'll make
And
a
you good with
motion.
that too, Jamie?
time?
Sure.
Yep, same time, 6 o'clock. It's 2 weeks from tonight.
Can you let us know if you don't hear back from council by then?
Yeah. Or
Okay.
DEP.
Or DEP? That way
Okay.
We don't lose our time, you know.
I make a motion to continue 7 Azalea Street to December, what did I just say?
21st.
21st at 6 PM.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And what we were just saying is if DEP, we can't control, if they don't get back to us by that meeting, you might wanna just check like the day before, call Ed or something, have somebody check, because we'd continue it if we didn't have any answers, just so we don't waste everybody's time that night, and then we'd probably push it off to the first week of January.
And we might not even have town council's opinion in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's asking a lot for
Yeah.
town council, holiday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys,
All right?
all right.
All right.
Very much.
Thanks.
Okay, have a good night, guys. Good night. All right. We'll go back up to
I knew it was gonna run
next on the
tight.
agenda.
Yeah, these will be quick.
Yeah.
We're good.
Will be, 1 Parkhurst Drive, meet with Zenith Engineering to discuss requested variance and local upgrade approvals. Jamie, it's all you, bud.
Good evening, Jamie Bissonette, Zenith Consulting Engineers. Septic repair, corner of Parkhurst and Bedford Street. We did some perks to replace a failing Title V system. We're looking to place the system in the front, somewhat similar to how it is now. We're looking to place it on the corner. We're asking for relief because of the pond and also because of the catch basin. Spoke with Ed. We agreed that a liner on the catch basin side would be a good idea. And we're here tonight hoping for approval. The entire lot is within the 400 feet of the pond as well.
I'm fine with it. I reviewed it. I talked to Jamie actually
Yeah.
previous on this one and Ed.
Yeah, I live walking distance to it, so I know it well.
Well, the liner I liked too, and, Ed, you have anything extra?
Actually, one thing I do have is,
Well.
the well. There's a new well put in. It doesn't show a proposed well.
That's
So-
semi-news to me, but they have plenty of room to put it in to our septic. So I'm not positive where everybody's septic is around there.
Okay.
I would
But we
have to,
definitely should show the proposed well on the new plan, just so we know it's,
I'll get a well plan over to Ed. It'll be just subsequent to this. I'll do like a 11 by 17. I've done those with Ed before.
and then what's going to happen with the existing well if it's decommissioned by a,
Oh, yeah, I mean, they'll either turn it into an irrigation well or decommission it. I believe that that is actually a shallow well, and I think that's why they're looking to put in a deep well.
okay. I think the well's already there. I've driven by.
Yeah.
The well's in.
Yeah, oh, the new well is in?
The new well is in. That's why I'm.
They pulled a
stating.
permit? Okay, all right.
And the well is in, so.
So I got an as-built.
So just locate it.
I'll
as-built
I'll
and
put it on
show
the
it to this
as-built
plan.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay, that's
Yep.
all I had. Everything else is good.
All right, I'm good.
I read the whole hearing thing. You
I
can
got
that part.
Where is it right here? I make a motion to approve the septic repair at 1 Parkhurst Drive with the 3 variances, and have the new well that was installed on the property shown on the plan with the distances, just to make sure it's outside 100 feet.
And have a liner installed, right?
The line is on the plan.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
The line is per plan.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next on the agenda, 129 Main Street, meet with Senior Consulting Engineers, request local upgrade approval.
All right, good evening again. Jamie Bissonette for the record. 129 Main Street, septic repair. We're looking for a 1-foot reduction in the groundwater separation. This reduction allows us to stay with gravity flow. I didn't do the perks, Ed could probably speak to it better, but there appears to be a restrictive layer down at about 90 inches where they found modeling, and then they had some nice material down below it. Based on the topography of the site, it would be a good assumption to think that that continues around the site, similar fashion to that, since they found it in both holes. So, looking at it, I can't come up with a better spot, to place it. So I think the waiver request is justified and hope the board agrees.
Hey, were these copies for us, or were you supposed to have this one?
Is that for Parkhurst?
Yeah.
Parkhurst.
We all got one, or do you need these?
I think they're
I
just color
think, yeah, I
copies.
think those were actually for, is that for conservation as well? Or-
I don't know.
I think they're color copies, that's why.
They're all Parkhurst addresses at the beginning.
No, they're for everybody because the catch basin was a technical variance. And so we notified all the butters and the 2 water departments.
Those are guys.
Yeah,
So
so
these are
those are,
copies, you got originals?
yeah, we would have
Okay.
emailed Ed,
Okay.
Bill Laurie.
So I reviewed this one too, I was fine with, this one, there's no wells, it's not in a nitrogen sensitive area, I think Ed can speak to that.
Yeah, that was
his
good.
comments.
You got anything else to add, Ed?
Yeah, no, like I said, it wasn't really in a sensitive area anyways. They're a good distance from their well. And like you said, I do agree that that sandy loam layer is pretty much throughout. And there is a small wetland across the street, but they're a good distance away from it.
And by granting this variance, we're eliminating a pump system.
That's correct.
That's why you're asking for the
That is,
variance.
yep.
And we're talking, it's about 8/10 if it goes in per plan.
Yep.
Even though you're already asking for a 1 foot variance,
Yes, we asked for a 1 foot.
but it's, you know, if it goes in like it's the per plan, it's 8/10.
Yeah.
So I don't
I'll
know.
go with you guys a little extra.
Yeah,
in
we
case.
try,
Just in case.
we try.
All right. I'll make. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, but I'll make a motion, we approve the one local upgrade, request for 129 Main Street in Lakeville, Mass.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you
All
guys.
right, thanks, Jamie.
1 minute spare, Jim. Don't hit the red lights.
All right.
All right, everybody, have a good night.
You too, Jamie.
Good night.
You too.
All right, next on the agenda, approve meeting minutes as typed for October 5th, 2022.
Excuse me.
It was good.
I was also read through it. All 3 were present at that meeting. Pretty lengthy one, I think, as we were discussing.
I'll make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes as typed for October 5th, 2022.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next on the agenda, Board of Health agent pending items.
There are no pending items.
All right, and next on the agenda will be COVID-19.
So there is an increase in cases. It's difficult to know what it is, based on the amount of testing. What we're really looking at now is hospitalizations. Hospitalizations are ticking up, but it's not, skyrocketing. You know, we kind of expected this with, holidays, and, fortunately it was pretty low there for a while, so that was pretty good, but just, take precautions during the holidays. You know, like I said, there are still a lot of vulnerable people out there who don't have a lot of immunity, so, you know, just try to take precautions and get tested before you go to large family gatherings.
Yeah.
Right,
And
yeah.
it's COVID and the flu and the
RSV,
RSV,
yeah.
all at the same time, so, yeah,
Right.
just be careful.
Yeah.
But I heard that wastewater was up 88% since Thanksgiving, the COVID they found out. So that usually ticks up a little bit to get to hospitals and stuff, but.
And also on that, you know, that on the COVID, I just still like to encourage everybody, you know, even if you got a mild cold or even a runny nose, it could be COVID. And, you know, it's recommended that you take a test because you don't want to spread it to somebody else. Even though you don't even think you have it, it could be a very mild case, but you could give it to somebody else that has underlying conditions. And, you know, I don't think maybe a lot of people right now don't even want to take the test because they don't want to have to stay home for 5 days and it's just a cold, but it's probably not. That's probably why it's still spreading so much.
We do have more free tests at
Yeah.
the Board of Health
Still,
office.
right?
We
So you don't
have-
have to buy a test.
We have free tests at the Board of Health, at the COA, and at the Lakeville Public Library. They're all out there. At the Board of Health, you just walk in the office, there's a little table there. You don't even have to talk to anyone. You just grab a couple tests, you walk in, walk out, grab the test, no questions asked.
And I think you even said maybe at one of the last meetings, if even if we had to, we could even get them to their mailbox if they called.
Correct.
We would literally-
If you don't have someone to get them
Vehicle.
for you, rather than going out, if you do think you're, COVID positive, rather than going out, just give us a call, we can drop them off in your mailbox. It's not a big.
Okay.
No, it's going, in the last week, I gotta know probably around 15 people that got it. Like, it's probably the most, none of them are in the hospital, but one of them gave it to a grandparent who was pretty sick for a little while there. Luckily, they got those pills and it helped them, but yeah, it's out there right now again.
And if they do test positive at home, what are still the recommendations they should follow as far as quarantine or?
Right, so both isolation and quarantine, there's still a 5-day isolation, if you are symptomatic. And what Bob said too, like I said, there's Paxlovid is the most common one. There is medicine out there. So like I said, if you do test positive and if your symptoms are worsening or you're at high risk, give your doctor a call. And then, like I said, to try to get that medication. The medication works great within the first 5 days. If you wait and say, okay, I'm at high risk, but the symptoms aren't too severe. A lot of times it starts with less severe symptoms and then worsens over time. So it's always good just to call your doctor and let them know what you're at, and then your doctor can better advise and say, okay, you need to be on this, or you need to go to get better treatment rather than just wait it out. For a lot of people, the thing to do is just to wait it out, but for certain people, you really should call your doctor.
Especially if you have pre-existing stuff too.
Now, you just said systematic, if you're still having symptoms. I mean, so I tested positive, we'll call Sunday, but only have a cold symptoms Monday and maybe into Tuesday. You still shouldn't be out on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Just because your symptoms were on Tuesday and you feel perfect on Wednesday morning. You're supposed to isolate for a minimum of 5 days?
Right, a minimum of 5 days regardless of
the
symptoms. But if your symptoms continue, then you have to go longer.
Further.
Yeah.
So
Sorry
if you're still sick on the 5th day.
I meant to say asymptomatic, but you're correct. I said it wrong.
Okay, I just want to clarify, anybody watching that. I still think a lot of people, they think if they're better on day 3, you're good to go. It's,
No.
if you should be 5 days from the time you test positive at a minimum,
But
even if you're fine, because you could spread it to somebody else.
Right.
Okay. As long as-
Okay. Anything else?
Does anyone have anything else?
I have nothing.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.